Welcome to the Louchen Bros podcast. This show is hosted by Brian Louchen.
And I am Kevin Louchen. And we're bros who talk about nerd stuff. Hey, yo! We got a little more of a current option today for you. If you're really interested, we got the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Considering most of ours have been not that recent, these literally just, this one came out within the last couple weeks to a month or whatever. So hopefully that's a little more current for anyone that's really interested. But let's just start off with a little bit of the plot, the story here. We got kind of a continuation if you have been following The Mandalorian. Djarin, the Mando, is currently in a state after post episode 6, but before episode 7, and he's continuing at this point to hunt down ex-Imperials and to stop sort of the Empire from trying to come back at any point, and any sort of Palpatine supporters he's trying to attack and bounty hunt essentially in the same manner. And then in the process of getting paid by the I guess it's still the Galactic, what's the Rebellion, but I don't remember them coming out with a new name. But anyways, the Rebellion, for lack of better words, is paying him, and is a form of payment. They this time decide to give him almost sort of an advance with a bigger payment in the form of his ship, which is technically not the Razor Crest, but he renames it. It's the same model, and it clearly has a lot of sentimental value, even though it's not the same ship. It's just the memory of it. So he's definitely wants it. And to do that, though, the Rebellion has him do a job he doesn't want to do, which is essentially work for the Hutts. Once again, going back to his time with the previous shows that he was on, and having some conflict with the Hutts. But he goes and has to do a job for them, which is basically look for their nephew. And he, kind of goes through that process. He does complete the job per se, but not for the Hutts' liking. So then it's a matter of now the Hutts don't like him. So now the Hutts are hunting him and kind of going through the capturing him process. And I guess this is a little late to say spoiler alert, but spoiler alert. and so then he goes and,
Spoilers.
Yeah, there's a lot of spoilers here. So if you want to watch it, don't listen to us. But he then goes and just kind of fights his way through it and following the process of it. So I won't give any more of the total ending spoilers. Guess what he might get out of it, But yeah, so as an overall story, Brian, how are you feeling about this bad boy?
Not great.
Not great. Brian does not like this story.
No, the story was good, but I definitely have a feeling that they took the TV series and basically crunched it into a movie film. So I definitely it felt like two disconnected stories kind of mashed together into some shit.
Okay, I as an overall thought, like just to kind of, if I was going to sum it up to just a couple lines, I actually really did like it. The problem I've had with this and most of the Star Wars lately is, did we need this? Was this really that necessary? This was a whole lot of this, maybe not the exact same old, but basically more stories and the same kind of characters. And my complaint, as I said back with Kathleen Kennedy, is I don't give a shit right now about the same characters I've been seeing for 4 fucking decades. I want something really new. That has been my biggest complaint, and I will stay on that until I see something outside of this essentially, 60-year fucking period. I'm tired of it. It's so old for me. I want different. That doesn't mean the content itself isn't interesting, and there's aspects we'll go into, but holy fuck, can we get something new? Like, actually new characters. I'm not talking about the main character. I'm talking about, like, every character. Nobody knows who they are unless it's just by name, but they've never had screen time. Like, you know what I mean? You've heard of Darth Bane, but you ain't really seen him ever.
That's
you know,
true. And I didn't...
Just all of that. I want new. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Rant enabled. No, but... so there is aspects of the story that I did like. Like, I didn't read any of the books or anything like that. As far as that, I didn't watch a ton of Clone Wars and that sort of thing, but the fact that they introduced Rhoda in this was awesome. Rhoda the Hutt, Jabba the Hutt's son, so I thought that was fucking awesome. The twins, like, that I thought was a cool villain aspect in it as well. Oh God, sorry.
Well, I kind of was following pretty good with notes. If you're okay, I'd like to kind of start with the beginning of the movie and kind of transition through it. Go. Right? All right. So first off, I like the idea of the bounty hunter character going back to being a bounty hunter. I thought that was a cool idea again. All right, because they've. Like a lot of things, they go away from premises. Obviously, you want to try to get more character development and get that. He was taking a baby, so now he's on the run a little bit, and yada yada. Okay, but he's back to the bounty hunting premise, which I thought was cool. They made him a badass again. He has not been a badass in a very long time. Since the first season, they've watered his skill level down. He seemed to need help from absolutely everyone all the time. And it was kind of like, is he a badass or is he not? Like I said, there's certain avenues where you want to show different light. I get that. But I didn't know that he could fight anymore because they've just kind of watered it down for me.
Spoiler, he's a badass.
So yes, he's a badass again, right? So I thought that was awesome. The fact that they started off, I don't think this was Hoth, but a cold weather planet. I love cold weather planet characters and scenes. Now, it's hard to do that with some of Star Wars, but it was super cool to see that. To see the AT-ATs, you gotta love it, how he was going from one to the other. Super cool. Using his jetpack, actually, that was cool. Just tying that all in, just for an opening scene. I don't know that I was... It's been a long time since I've been pretty impressed by an opening, scene for a Star Wars show or movie. So I was very happy with that. I don't know how you felt about the intro and kind of reintroducing him as a character.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed seeing the AT-ATs and then him taking over that chicken walker and again him wrapping them up and. Them falling off the side of a fucking mountain. Like, who doesn't love those big machines? I know my nephew Gannon does. But no, that ice snow-covered planet was called Pagadon. Pagadon?
Like I don't know. Yeah, I mean, but either way, like I said, it's just cool to see that element. You see a lot of, all these other planets, but the cold weather ones don't get a ton of action. Understandably so, but like I said, that's why I was excited. You get introduced, or I should say reintroduced, to Zeb. I was a Star Wars Rebel guy. I did watch the show. I've watched a lot of the animated stuff outside of the Lego stuff. I really haven't watched that. I have not seen the new Maul one, as I've reiterated. I don't think we needed it. But Zeb is a really cool character. He's a different species of humanoid. And that was the cool part. Like, he's got like hand feet, like he's got opposable, phalanges on his toes and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. And it was the same voice actor, I'll allude to that later, but he's a cool character to have introduced. Because Star Wars Rebels was so much earlier. It was like I do believe Rebels was right before Episode 4, or right around that time period. So to have him come back and like jump and see him, as you alluded to, coming back into the rebellion, I thought that was pretty interesting to see. But then you basically follow him, and they get back to the Rebel base, and that's when you get reintroduced to the Razor Crest, which I do think is a pretty cool vehicle. and how they're like, yeah, it was confiscated, but it's all yours and stuff like that. And you could see the sentimental value with the cinematography, and I love that they showed Grogu bouncing on the controls like he was a little kid, you know, in a bedroom and touching everything, and it was like, I just love that factor. Like that is a throwback, and you could tell like there was Djarin was in his feels a little bit about, yeah, I don't want to do this job, but fuck, do I want to do this job because I want this thing back.
Well, yeah, but I think every great character or group has an awesome vehicle. I mean, Batman, it's the Batmobile. You know, you have the Scooby Gang, they have the Mystery Machine or whatever, you know. You have iconic Jurassic Park, you know. So I feel like, and again, those are just a couple. Obviously, there's a ton in pop culture history as far as vehicles, but yeah, you got the X-Wings, you got, you know. So yeah, every good character has this. You know, Boba Fett, of course, Kevin, has the Slave One.
The fire spray, fuck you. I stand by it.
Spray.
You didn't hear about that? Dude, that was so fucking wokeness at its worst. They wanted to change the name of the Slave One because they didn't like the fact that it had the word slave in it. I'm not fucking kidding you. So if you actually look at any of the designation, they just call it the fire spray, which is the class of like ship that it is. But ships get names, like boats get names. Everything gets a name. It's the Slave One. It will forever be the Slave One. Quit trying to fucking, you know, be so fucking sensitive in your feels about every fucking thing. It's just the Slave One. Be over it.
Did you give your minivan a name, Kev?
Yeah, it's fucking van. It's a fucking. I don't care. I don't have any sentimental towards the van. All right, that's what it is. All right.
Do we have a name for the Astro van back
the tank.
The tank. The
fucking tank. Shout out, Alan. I know you remember.
Yes, the tank and freaking the battle tank from Thundercats. Again, another iconic vehicle.
So going back to it, so it was really awesome to see that because I thought it was a cool vehicle. Well, not my favorite, but definitely a really cool vehicle, and how like he knew how to do that. And throughout the movie, because they're like, well, it's stock, but you could see him like trying to tweak things because he knows how his ship went so hard that he's like, oh, this is not working the way I need it to, and he's like trying to do it in real time. So it was really, I love that element. I thought that was pretty cool to try to reintroduce that.
Well, yeah, they had those little guys tinkering with it. I forget what that was.
Yes, those little scientists kind of engineer things. Yeah, those are pretty cool guys. But I'm going to transition over to the planet. So at this point, you know, they go to the planet Shikari. Just in general, I love new planets. I love sometimes when they visit old ones, like Coruscant's always going to be a big one. Tatooine's always going to be a big one. But I love introducing new planets, and especially the latter one I'm about to mention here is Nal Hutta. Nal Hutta has been around for a long time in a lot of the movies. Some references direct and some not so direct, because that's basically the Hutt planet, and the Hutts are like the biggest gangsters in the galaxy. So it's been around forever. So to actually see some real live like footage and scenery is actually really exciting for me. So once I knew they were going there, I was pretty pumped. As far as that goes, I was a little like thrown off though, because this is the Hutt planet. I expected more of a bigger city, if you will, because in the area that they were, it was almost just like these tall pillar buildings, but it didn't seem like it was a lot of it. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it would be like almost city level. So it was really small time. I don't know if that's by design or not, if they're supposed to be different, in the planet, you have different cities, right? I don't know if that's just one area. I just thought it would be bigger because they are the Hutts. You know what I mean? And they were essentially running the syndicate at that point. And the area just didn't seem... I thought it would have been a much, much bigger site, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that at all?
I don't, as far as that. I mean, I was more curious as far as your like of the different planets is like because you like seeing different environments because
Yes.
of that, like in the universe and how it ties into our own Earth or that. So I was kind of more fixated on that, and not necessarily the Hutt's lair type of thing because it was into the side of a mountain, probably for protection and security.
No, it wasn't the side of a mountain. They were like pillars. They look like
large.
That's
right, because they had the different levels, right?
And it was like a jungle kind of very not quite maybe rainforesty, but definitely swamp like. And I like seeing the planets because you get to see different creatures, you get to see different elements, and whether it's different like actual like animal like species or humanoid species. I love seeing more to the galaxy that they're trying to provide. So when you get to see different planets, you're in essence supposed to see more.
You're a lore whore.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I like seeing the different looks. Like that's the appeal for me. So that's like when I say these other planets. So I love seeing that, and seeing that one specifically was interesting. Another interesting point about being there was that the Hutts had droid security, and I thought that was a little unusual. I don't know. My interest is Jabba used a lot of species and bounty hunters, yet they decided to use droids. Was that because of that? Is it an expense thing? Obviously, we don't have an answer, but I wonder if that's something that plays out because a lot of those, if you look at them, they were former like battle droids and whatnot from the Clone War. The Clone Wars and whatnot. So, is there a potential tie into that? But we also know that a lot of those droids were just sold to whoever, so that could be an element of it too. It's just very interesting because they talked about. And this will come to a later thought. They talked about having heavily security, which they had a lot of bots, but once again, I thought it would be a bigger area. They only really had like a couple starships flying at a time. To me, that's not heavy security. So there was a little bit of that doesn't match up. I'm thinking heavy security. You got fucking planes regularly flying, or you got more towers or more blaster cannons. I don't know. I understood what they said, but I didn't get that opinion. But maybe that's just me.
Like an overwhelming amount.
Yes.
For like a solo person, probably yes. But as far as for like a group of people, maybe yeah.
It's the Hutt Syndicate, and they are running it. I would expect a bigger ordeal. Jabba, granted, had that one big tower on Tatooine, but this is now Hutta, what I thought was more the home base. I don't know. I just thought it would be bigger. You know, like if that, I don't know. Maybe it's my
bigger isn't always better, Kevin.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you want to show force, you want to show quantity, and sometimes it doesn't have to be quality. You just want to show quantity, right? That's really what it is. So, let's move forward. Introducing the Rada, the Hutt kind of element. I thought was chef's kiss. I thought it was beautifully done.
That was definitely peak for sure. Like, and surprisingly, Jeremy Allen White voiced him, which I couldn't even tell as much. But I couldn't tell. But
that's Lip, for if anyone needs to know, because that's how I know him as Lip, and I will forever know him as Lip. Lip Gallagher, that's just what it is. Anyways, go ahead.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah, I really enjoyed Rada's character in it because I liked his, like, I don't know if you want to call it a redemption story, Kevin, but he's
absolutely.
Yeah, he's trying to get out of, obviously, the shadow of his freaking dad, the legendary Jabba, of course, Jabba the Hutt, and, you know, he becomes a cage fighter, and he's like, the people love me, and stuff like that, and even though he's being an entertainer, per se, did they actually love him, or did they just love the sport and the violence, you know, and that sort of thing? And so him not wanting to go back to the twins and stuff like that. And then how Mando's just like, you're a bounty, but then kind of like, spoiler alert, as things go down the road, like, he kind of sides with him and he's like, you know what, I'm going to kind of do the right thing and kind of get him out of here. So I really liked how his, like, arc actually went for his story.
For sure. I think, you know, he wanted to be his own person. I don't know that he necessarily had the most initial of best intentions. I mean, if you grow up in a very contentious, very evil environment like the Hutts do, your mentality is bred to be bad. But I think because he got away essentially at an early age, he was able to develop in the manner which he wanted to. And I think just he knew his dad wasn't bad early on, or was bad early on, and so it was easy to just, I don't want to be like that for him. And so that was, I think, really like exponentially guided him to an avenue like, I not only do I not want to be like that, I want to be better in my own way. And I just think it just added to all that fuel that was like, I'm going to be my own man. Now, what you said is maybe they just liked him because he was winning, but to be fair, that's all gladiators, right? You don't really like gladiators because they have glowing personalities. You like them because they fucking kill or beat the shit out of somebody else. That's how it is. But I think the key was he was just making it on his own, and he was booed, as he alluded to, but now they cheer me. Like, so he was doing it himself, and I think that was the key versus just getting on name alone, because that's how a lot of kind of nepotism does work. It's kind of by just name versus my own credibility. But even then, I thought it was funny that he had abs and it was like crazy built, strong. But it was more about, I love that he was a good person, or and
good species.
Exactly, a good species. And that was the thing, is like you didn't see any of that nor heard any of that from anything in the past with any of the Hutts. So it's like, yeah, you can have this diamond in the rough. That's totally that's an Aladdin reference, but it's totally beautiful that happens, because that's how it is. It's not always a 100. And I just thought his character development, it matched Mandalorian's development in a sense, because he was there to do the job with Grogu, and yeah, he was great about it, but just if it didn't fit right, he didn't like it, just like with Grogu, and same thing with Rada. So I love that he did what he did.
What did you think of kind of the villains, like the twins, and also like Janu Coin, this Shakiri crime lord type person?
I loved it. I thought the actor, I didn't have his name down, but I thought he was like a good kind of mob-like boss, kind of kind of mentality, hiding underneath a different name essentially, but also still the like it was good. It wasn't overwhelming, so you didn't get like too turned off by like, this is just bad or whatever. He was kind of the quiet, like,
political mastermind,
yeah,
in a sense, which I kind of liked.
But like I said, he didn't do too much to like be like, that's like totally unrealistic, whatever. But he did enough. Like, he didn't do too little. Like, he said enough lines. You could see with his mannerisms. Like, if somebody is pulling strings behind the scene, that was the depiction I would have got out of it. So I thought he was great. I thought with the way the twins were too. Interesting thing is, I was looking and I could not find their names specifically. They are literally just called the twins.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is awesome. I love that. Like, they're just called the twins, and you know them as the twins. I don't even know if I had found even the actors. Like, it was like, I don't want to say uncredited, but it was like hard to find. I'm like, man, it's so cool. But I kind of, not that that's really the end of play, but as far as the characters go, like, you just kind of talked about them as one. So I thought that was a little different, but they were great as far as the major villain of the whole movie. Like, they just were. They had the lure. They had the tie-in from the previous stuff. I thought that was really awesome. One thing I thought was really quirky, and I think I even pointed. Oh wait, no, I didn't point this out to you. But what I saw is, because we didn't watch it together, but I did point this out to the wife who I was with. The door. So Grogu breaks in. He climbs up the shaft of into the jail. He gets down and he goes and he opens the door. And if you watch the door, it's like every door they've ever had, and it doesn't open up all the way. And I don't know why it didn't open up all the way. It just partially opened up. I'm like, why did they do that? Maybe it was because of something with the thing. And it's like the dumbest detail, has no relevance to the movie, but I just happened to notice. I'm like, why is that door not all the way open? Like, it was,
because that has to do with the story.
like this is so, like, I don't know why I noticed these things, but I'm like, the door probably didn't open all the way up because they probably had some like somebody behind the scenes and they couldn't open the door up all the way. But I'm like, why would like, what, the man has got to turn sideways to walk inside that door? I'm like, why would they not open the door all the way up? Like, I don't know. It's just something weird. I like really needed to say. The fight with Rada, I thought was really interesting. I love how they did it, but I loved how they added animals in and everything. But the most interesting thing about it, and I think this is a ratings thing, is there was like almost no blood. They didn't want to show killing, because even when the animals started getting out of the fighting pit, they almost never killed any of them. They would grab them, the people, and just throw them. And I'm like, yeah, that they would be tearing these people up. So I was like, I know that it's not the end of the world, but I'm like, there was like no blood at all, and they definitely wanted
PG. I'm guessing.
I'm sure it's for violence. It would had to be in PG-13, but I'm like, they did not want to show these animals tearing the shit out of the crowd because like there's no blood. They destroyed lots of things. They attacked people and threw them. Like I said, I saw that, knocked them down. But none of them, like, all of a sudden was missing a limb and blood squirting out or whatever, which definitely would have happened. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what you thought about that.
I mean, it wasn't a detail that... It was a detail I noticed as far as them throwing, but it was not a detail that I was expecting, like Mortal Kombat blood.
Well, it doesn't have to be that level, but you would think that these monster species would be killing people to a heavy degree, right?
Yes.
That's all. That's you would think, or maybe it's a little bit like you could see them going, rawr, and then blood squirt a little bit, but it's all off camera. Just something like that could happen, but apparently everything just creates burns and there's no actual punctures ever. You know, I don't know.
Your imagination goes. So
well, they should. My imagination is the screen, what they show me, and that should be murder. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. But it didn't detour. It just was like, all right, these animals. What are they? Just training?
Was there any moving on? Was there any good quotes that you remember from the movie, Kev?
You know what? I don't think I had any actual good quotes. It was hard because we saw. Well, I saw it as well as you did. We saw it in the theater, so it was hard to kind of like rewind or write anything down.
I had one quote that I wrote down.
All right,
that I liked. So after the Mandalorian beats up like 12 people, he says, "I tried to avoid violence."
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I do remember that line. That was a good line.
So that one was probably my favorite in the film.
Okay. So Jeb fighting. I thought was really cool. As I said, that was a throwback. When they captured the Janu coin, did you notice like he was just casually walking with him the whole time? Like,
yeah.
I was like, why would he not be trying to escape at her? I was like, whatever. I thought the fight with the fish people moving down the line, that was a little unrealistic, mostly because the fish people, when they were in the water, that was their element, and yet the Mando apparently had the upper hand. Like, they dragged him down, they had him with the spear over his chest, and somehow they can move and swim in water, yet they lost that fight. Just the way it was done, I thought was a little. I'm like, all right,
that sounds more like editing to me.
I just feel like he can't breathe, so he's. I don't know. That was a little dumb. After being poisoned, he seemed like he survived for 4 fucking weeks and didn't die. Dude, that scene, that drag out was so long. He passed out in what would have been considered a mere hour or two, and yet it made it seem like he lived for almost 2 days and said he's going to be dead soon. I don't know how you go from consciousness to not consciousness, but then live 2 extra days. I don't know. That to me was a little... It's not that they did it. It's just the timetable they should have sped up a lot more. The scenes itself kind of dragged out a little bit from my life.
Yeah, that's going back to my original point where this should have been made into another season and not a movie. I feel they dragged it on and stretched it out way too long. That wasn't unnecessary. They probably could have cut at least 20 minutes out of the damn movie by cleaning up some of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and then I got a last actual couple points about the story itself. So as I said, the Nalhutta, like, I guess village or town, the hut buildings and whatnot, I thought was small. Now, the rebel squadron that came in to attack them, once again, it was like, what, 15 ships? Like, if that, once again, you're talking about they got heavy artillery and all this support, yet 15 ships, is that it? They should at least had a big, command
about the X-Wings and Y-Wing squadron? Oh.
Once again, it was like, that wasn't an overwhelming feel of amount of squadrons attacking and destroying the area. Now, maybe because there weren't that many buildings that matched up or whatever, it wasn't a show of power and force, which I think they thought it was going to be. I just think they should have had a lot more, like, commanding ships that were, like, going to destroy it. I don't know. That just
was a little embellishment. That's
all right. So I'm like, that could have been man. And then one other weird tidbit. Okay, so this is track this. All right. So Mando is at his home on that one planet, which was a fun throwback. I don't remember it, where he has that house. I love that. That was cool. All right, he gets captured by Embo, which is an awesome bounty hunter. And he goes and he's at the huts. All right, so he doesn't have his ships. He got captured, brought over. Right. So then when the rebels save him and he goes back to the rebel base, all of a sudden his Razor Crest is there. And I'm like, whoa, they didn't have enough time to send a big star fleet. They had to make sure they send in and do all this bombing. But somebody had enough time to go to his home planet, pick up his ship, and bring it back to the rebel base. Does that track for you?
So wait, I don't think it was the original Razor Quest.
No.
Razor Crest.
No. So the only Razor Crest left at this point is the one he got from the rebels.
Correct.
He flew that back to his house, which is on a different planet. But when he got captured by Embo and brought to the huts, his ship was still at his house. So that means then the rebels came, they went ahead and saved him and brought him back to the rebel planet. But on the rebel planet, all of a sudden the Razor Crest is there. So they had to, dire circumstances, go save the Mando, but made sure somebody valeted his fucking Razor Crest from his house and brought it to the rebel base. Get the fuck out of here. I think that was just a means of convenience, but I'm like, that makes no sense. And I am going to track it because I am a little butthead when it comes to trying to follow some of these details.
Kevin, space Ubering is a thing.
My point is
space
that, like,
valeting.
It didn't connect. But once again, such a little detail. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm like, that's bullshit, and I'm gonna call it out like I see it, like that, like like the valet for another planet. Get the hell out of here. So outside of that, okay, I know I trashed some things, but the actions was like, for the most part, really excellent. And the story I thought was pretty good, maybe condensed, like Brian has said, but for the most part, I think it was solid. So I think I'm ready to vote. If you're ready to vote,
I'm ready to vote.
All right.
I'm going mid.
I'm going thumbs up. I like I said, I liked it. So
yeah, I mean, there's aspects of the story I like. As far as with Rhoda and stuff like that, but like I said, this could have been done in a good season. It wasn't required to be a movie. So.
I don't think it should have even been made, mostly because I want new shit, and I stand by that. But
so we're moving on to casting and acting, which Kevin kind of touched on a lot of the actual characters already a little bit, but we'll dive into a little bit more because I do think as far as the supporting characters and like the cameos, I thought was pretty solid actually. Like we already talked about the villain as far as the twins. We talked about Rhoda the Hutt, which were big parts of the actual story, which I really enjoyed. I didn't have any problems with anything with that how they handled that. you also had Zeb, which you've kind of already talked about. And we'll talk about a little bit later as far as how he thought the special effects and that sort of thing went. But, you did just mention recently, Kevin, Embo, this Kizuzo bounty hunter, which I thought was very interesting. Gave Mando a run for his fucking money.
Well, that's what if I am going to be honest, when it comes to Star Wars, I love the Force users, and just under that, if not even tied to it, are bounty hunters. And Brian knows I've always been like that. My love for the bounty hunters is because, one, the characters are usually unique. They're skilled and talented, and they just have cool backgrounds. They tend to have a lot of different species and just different looks to them. So I've always been fascinated with the bounty hunters. And it's a weird thing because they're almost like, not all of them, but a lot of them can be anti-heroes. And that is one of my favorite character styles too, is like they have a code. It might not be yours, it's theirs. And sometimes it follows taking the bounty for what it is. Sometimes it's, I'm going to make, a good decision because I actually have a heart. And then there's the others that are like, fuck it, I'll kill babies. I don't care. like they'll do whatever. And that's the element I love is it's so all over the place of what you're going to get. And Embo is one of those ones that, super skilled. I think he's a kazoo. He almost looks like a robot, or at least a cyborg or something like that. But nonetheless, very skilled. Has the kind of the pet wolf kind of hyena hybrid looking thing. And I remember seeing him before in Rebels. It's he didn't talk a whole lot. I don't even know if he talked much back then. It's been a while, but he's just that alluring character, kind of. Silence, just does his job and just kind of a badass in his own way. I love characters like that. Even Cad Bane, when he first came out, he talked more, but he's not in this. But Cad Bane was always a cool, badass kind of gunslinger. Like there's just like characters like that really catch my eye. I'm like, I fucking love these guys because they're just, they're just super talented and skilled. They just, do whatever they want.
Yeah, and that's something I think just the Star Wars universe in general, like you already talked about, the planets are fascinating, the species are fascinating, the different Force users and bounty hunters, you kind of get immersed in this world, and like, it's like an escape, honestly. And even Kevin to this day, I joke with him about it. He says Star Wars is religion. It's
a religious-like aspect. It really is.
Yeah, for people that follow it. But yeah, I enjoyed as far as Embo kind of being, even though the twins were the main antagonist, this was obviously a hired gun, you know what I mean, to kind of take out Mando being that, and he kind of stood up to him pretty well. So
he kicked his ass.
Yeah, he fucking outsmarted it. I don't know, they, them, robot, whatever the fuck it is. But I really enjoyed how he gave a run for his money.
I thought it was actually pretty cool when the twins were getting caught up by the giant like sea snake thing, and they're like, "Hey, help us!" He's like, "Yeah, nah, fuck that." He's like, "I'm out." I was like, "Yeah," because that's one of those elements. Is like, I don't owe you any. There is a lack of loyalty. I'm a big loyalty person, but there's definitely a lack of loyalty in that business. But that's why it's like an honor and a code thing, and it's not a loyalty thing. So, but nonetheless, it was like he's like, "This battle ain't mine. Y'all to get what you deserve. Like you just pay me. I do some shit, but whatever." No, he did use some elements to outsmart the bounty hunter, and I just Djarin, and I thought that was cool. So
I did want to circle back though, actually, about that large white albino snake.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it was kind of like it's Rancor essentially, right?
Yes.
In this pit, which I thought was really cool aspect that I was not expecting. But being like a reptile enthusiast like you are, like, did you have any thoughts on that? Like how that was depicted as far as in the movie, like, again, having the reptile background, is there an actual, like, snake that's close to that you think that they kind of mimicked, like even like its movements and stuff? Like I wanted to kind of get like I want to get real on here, Kev, on Monster Bros podcast.
I didn't like break it down to the elements like you're talking, but I can because sometimes I do take things at face value. Unlike apparently a door not opening enough for Grogu, I thought about that one a lot, but this I didn't. I think the water element, like they were mimicking like Jabba's hut. I think all hut would probably have some sort of giant sort of animal or some sort of species that's going to slaughter people constantly because it's an entertainment value. They could bet on stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's all there in all forms, in present, past, future, whatever. So I thought that was cool. I like how it was in the water. There was elements I didn't like with that because it was supposed to be like, it's not like a flat ground. There's deep crevices. And yet the bandos seem to walk normally there. Also, those crevices, if they were that big, the sea serpent snake thing was going in and out like it was, like it didn't seem to have a level ground, but then it did seem to have a level ground all at the same time. And so, like I said, if you're really digging into that element, that was a little weird. The sea serpent itself, it was large. Nothing we've typically ever known in human history, actual human history, that has been that large typically moves that fast. They have all these, science, will do these carbon dating and looking at old fossils and everything like that. The bigger things are, they seem like they move fast, but it's not that they move fast. They're just large and they move in a sense, right? So they've estimated when they found like the gigantic snake. I can't remember what they call it, but there's a gigantic snake that they've estimated to be like 50 feet and even longer. But they also have estimated that it probably doesn't move that fast, as quick as this thing. It doesn't mean that it's not moving quickly because it's just so big to go from, taking one step is a lot. It's a slow step, but it's a big distance, right? So that's kind of what you're talking about. So it wouldn't move necessarily fast, but it would kind of do this. This thing was moving quick. So there's an element of that might be off, but like you said, we're really getting in the weeds with some of the details.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I was just thinking about that fascination earlier. I was like, this is interesting.
You brought it up, so this is you're doing. It is on the like kind of almost albino white side, which would imply that if it's that color, it's probably because it's in murky water and there's not enough light getting to it, or it's just a rare albino version of itself. I'm sure there's still elements that would transfer over in other species. So I thought that it had I guess technically it would be venomous because it would inject the poison, elements to it. So being venomous and whatnot, that's no different than snakes that we see here, even though it seemed to be more resembling a serpent versus a specific snake, some sort of reptilian element, which is what that planet is essentially. So I think I'm okay with it. Overall, I thought it was a cool add. It was a different sort of Rancor element that I thought was, I don't want to say absolutely necessary, but it just helped add in more lore with the Hutts. It tied the story in super well. I thought killing the Hutts was awesome because, I think a lot of the story going down the road in any future, if you have other Hutts that are evil like Jabba and the twins are, you're going to see them almost see their demise from their own elements. Like Jabba wanted to have Princess Leia as a slave, and yet she ended up killing him. The Hutts wanted to have the serpent, and the serpent ended up killing it, right? So I think you will always see an element that they almost sow their own demise unknowingly in any sort of writing, and I think it makes the most sense.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point I didn't think about.
So I think it was just a suiting way it ended, and just even this is what it definitely had an element to. If you're familiar with any snakes, like after eating both of the sluggy Hutts, it was swimming around. You could see the bulging in just like a snake would too. It was a little weird that they were that far away. They probably would have been more bulk together, but for the cinematic cinematography effect is what I'm going to say. You wouldn't see the two bulges as clearly if they were a little closer together, but typically that's how snakes work, having had, a couple in my life.
Was there any of the casting or acting that you didn't like at all?
So when I look at this, I want to reiterate, Djarin, Pedro Pascal, his character was a badass again. And I really want to reiterate that because that was a huge selling point to the first introduction of him. So if you really like that, I think that really is what sold me mostly on I enjoyed this movie. Grogu, once again, I don't think he was overpowering, and I love that about it. Like, it wasn't just him where it seemed to be as much of the focal point as just both of them. And I think having him try to help save the Mando was absolutely great. The only one element that was a little off to me, and it's a mix, okay, and I'll explain why, was the Ward. Ward was the rebel commander. I think it was
that was
Colonel.
Sigourney Weaver's character.
That was Sigourney Weaver's character.
The Colonel leader.
It's and I don't think I'm never not going to focus on this to a degree. But having Disney knowing how woke it is and just trying to make sure that the leader at the helm is a woman is still going to be a thing for me, because they've traditionally done this over and over. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be or can't be. I just think it's intentional all the time, consistently. And that's what I don't like. Instead of having a mixture in there. Now, she's not like the top of the thing, but even Mon Mothma and all that, it goes back through the history of time with them. And it's not a bad thing, but it just does feel intentional. However, as much as that bothers me a little bit, I think if you were going to have a strong female character, fucking you nailed it. Because Sigourney Weaver is one of the best you'll ever do forever. I mean, she made that shown in the Alien franchise, and I don't think she's ever going to lose that. She is an alpha dog, and I love it. And so if you're going to do it, she's the right one to do. She's always going to give that vibe off, and I fucking love her for that role. But like I said, I'm always going to question what they're going to do with some of these elements, because it comes back to, once again, a force feeding versus just letting it grow organically. All right. So but I didn't hate it. It just, as far as the casting, I thought the casting was the perfect one. It's just more of like, why are they doing things like that? Other than that, they had some.
Do we want to rate this guy, or do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, yeah, that's basically it. They had minor characters, but nothing was. I think Martin Scorsese was a minor role, but like that's just weird, just because he's not really an actor. But it was kind of cool that he was in it. But other than that, no, we can rate it.
Yeah, he was that like little shopkeeper dude.
Yeah,
when Mando's trying to get information. I also liked that fisherman character.
Oh, yes.
I actually thought that was what's his name?
I know who you thought it was Jar Jar, didn't you?
No. I didn't think it was Jar Jar. I actually thought it was
the one dude from the races in the first one. From the episode 1, where he's got the long arms and he walks on his hands and he's got the tiny feet where he grabs stuff.
No.
Who are you thinking of?
I thought it was Samuel L. Jackson, but it wasn't.
Oh, you mean voiced as him? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you meant character itself. No, I at first I was like, that's not Jar Jar, is it? No, but no, yeah, that character had a cool role, like, because I think minor characters like that always add a little extra oomph. He was like a reptilian kind of gator, kind of lizard, and just it was cool. Yeah.
All right, rating, Kev.
All right, I'm gonna go
thumbs up.
I'm also a thumbs up once again. The characters, actually, this might be one of the best castings I've seen in a long time, as far as of actors with their character and what they're meant to do. I thought it was really excellent, personally. So, moving forward, sound, my favorite. You know what? I actually do have a comment, though. Normally, it doesn't hit me. I noticed, and I think it was parts throughout the whole movie, but definitely when they're on the planet of Shikari, it sounded like we were hitting dubstep, club dub kind of shit.
So here's what I said in mine, Kev. Electronic trap music for your fast-paced city and action scenes from Shikari, Embo, and Do, or do we run or do we fight? You know, so yeah, that was like, I just love how it like set the scene. Like
it was a little unusual. It seemed like it was almost like trying to be up to date with the times with music and background noise. But it did fit the scene of Shikari, so I like it was fine. It was just I noticed, I'm like, what the fuck is this clubbing shit we're doing right now? It was kind of funny, but yeah. Other than that, I don't have any other thoughts. Sound is sound.
And that's, I guess, a quote I could actually add to earlier. Do we run or do we fight? That was actually a really good quote that they had, too. I did also like the calming and peaceful ambiance of, like, Grogu's world. And then, of course, the iconic Mandalorian theme song. So
you mean Al Hudda? The ambiance of, like, the wild animals and the forest? Is that what you're talking about?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, yeah, like hearing
the song is actually called Grogu's World, but yeah, the swamp.
Like, yeah, hearing the swamp noises. I'm an animal and environment enthusiast, so yeah, sometimes just listening to nature is fucking awesome.
Do you listen to that as you sleep, Kev?
No, I have a fan on. I'm a grown-ass adult that needs white noise. Come on now.
All right, I don't have any other thoughts.
Right. That's it. You know me. I'm gonna go. I'm just going mid because it's fucking music. I don't give a shit. Not when it comes to movies. All right, so our next one is we got special effects. Obviously, being in space, there might be some special effects.
You don't say.
Do you want to start with this one? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can definitely start with it. So, I mean, first thing, Favreau and Filoni, who are the directors, they said the action, spectacle, and practical effects would be expanded from the series, but they felt like characters connecting with the audiences were more important. So they did have like a bigger IMAX. They did have like stop animation. This was actually the first film that featured opening credits, the first for a Star Wars film that was a non-Star Wars. So now that I think back, I didn't even actually realize that, which was kind of interesting.
I don't even know if I've paid attention. So.
I did also like how they had Grogu and Mandalorian teaming up in the gladiatorial scene where they had to basically fight each other in the arena, and that was kind of like the chess game on the Millennium Falcon from A New Hope on the different monsters they were fighting. So that was actually a really cool aspect.
I like that, yeah. I agree with that. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, them tag teaming together, the visuals with all those animals, the electric character species things, like, yeah, I thought the visuals were amazing. One of the things is, it's when it comes to visuals, is it's not that you notice it's a visual effect, because that's what it is. It's that you notice if it's bad or not, right? These animals don't exist, right? So it's not like you're like, oh, I'm familiar with what this lightning lizard looks like, right? It's more or less, does it not look like, or does it look like it's out of place, right? Does the background look so unusual to the foreground and whatnot? And honestly, I didn't feel that way at all throughout the whole movie.
But I don't think it's just the look in those creatures. I think it's also the movements.
Well, yes.
You know, is it realistic on how other reptiles or animals or creatures actually move to kind of give it life? And I think they always do its due diligence in thinking about that. So
you're spot on. As I mentioned in a previous one with the Predator. Like, it just didn't seem like fluid, natural movements. All these movements were so good. The way the starship moves, like, it's consistent. Like, I've never seen a starship fly. Yeah, it looks perfect. Like, how do I know what perfect is for a starship? I don't, but it looks like it makes sense. It looks like, for, natural, I guess, seeing blasters, seeing the way they fight, even with robots that are probably done by green screen. The giant robots were so freaking cool. I wish they would have had more of them.
Actually, those large robots were stop motion animation, actually.
Were they?
Yeah.
They look good.
It was created by Phil Tippett, who also created the stop-motion effects from the original Star Wars trilogy.
Okay, so skills is what they said. We got some skills to pay the bills, and it looked good. And that's the point. Is they're supposed to make things with like fluid-like motions that are more natural versus it's just like teleporting, right? Like that's the key. The animals did it. Even the giant serpent, like I said, it moved fast, but that's I know by design. But it's not like if you had a small snake and watched it move, they move fast. They're tiny. It's very easy to do that. It's just they did it on a big snake, so the movements were natural. They just were faster than what I think they would be if a thing like that really existed. Is really all I was saying. So, but then once again, they're moving normal. The fishmen are moving normal. Like the robots, all those droid securities, they look like they're moving in a normal fashion. So everything that's happening is generally pretty much on par to how I would imagine it would look. And that's saying something when you have animals and species that have never existed and we don't know what they would look like. So they were amazing graphics. I would absolutely say that.
Yeah, the graphics and the wardrobe and the editing, like I said, other than it being dragged out longer than expected and being kind of unnecessary, but if you're just talking strictly visuals, special effects, wardrobe, knocked it out of the park, as most Star Wars films do.
If you consider going back and watching the special edition version of was it A New Hope, right? The special edition one, where they have Jabba talking to Han Solo in the docking bay with the Millennium Falcon. Look at that Jabba the Hutt. And if you can tell me that you think it looks natural then, I'd say no, you're wrong. It was a little bit before its time with special effects. It didn't look the worst, but it didn't look natural. These huts looked relatively natural. Maybe it wasn't perfect. I'm not going to say that, but it looked pretty much natural. Their movements as a giant slug to try to get to one place faster to another. They almost had to jump and push themselves. Like that looked like how it would have to be, because you don't imagine something being, I would guess, at least 2,000 pounds to move, just like it's sliding on fucking ice. Okay, so
I liked when they went in their lair and there was all the little huts or little slugs.
Yes,
that was awesome.
I think the visuals match exactly how I imagine a big budget was compared to something smaller.
Other than the size of their squadrons in their city.
Well, that's more the numbers issue, not necessarily the visual look of it. It just. Yeah, but once again, Nal Hutta looked awesome. It looked amazing. Being in those like cavern-like kind of, I guess, building that was like pitch black because they had no fucking windows. Like it was super cool. It looked like, hey, if I could imagine this giant slug humanoid, what would it be living in? Yeah, it would look like that. That's what I would gather it would look like. So it matched.
All right, you have any other points you want to rate this, Kev?
No, I'm good. Let's do this.
Yeah, you got to go thumbs up on this one for sure.
The one thing I have, just in general, Star Wars really hasn't been disappointing visuals like the whole time it's been around. It's really been pretty fascinating. Not always perfect, but their visuals and special effects have usually been pretty freaking sweet. I will say that.
Moving to emotional connection and rewatchability and critical response.
All right.
You want me to take this one, Kev, or you want to get your thoughts?
It's up to you. You want first dibs?
I'll take the first dibs because I'm going to get all of what the people are saying.
All right, let's hear what the people are saying.
Here we go. So, reviewers say that The Mandalorian and Grogu delivers Star Wars charm with spectacular visuals and family-friendly appeal. No blood. That works across generations.
My point.
The action sequences impress and characters remain endearing. However, the film disappoints with an underdeveloped story that feels like an extended filler, sluggish pacing, especially in the final act, and committee-driven writing lacking narrative coherence. While visually polished and entertaining for younger audiences, it struggles to provide meaningful plot progression or emotional depth for invested fans.
Yeah, the only thing that really came out of that was he got his old ship back. That's really about it. And Rod of the Hutt was really introduced on a high level. Outside of that, there's really nothing substantial coming out of development of that. I mean, maybe other than Grogu saving him, but even then, he didn't do a very good job. He built a short shit hut.
This marked the lowest opening for the Star Wars franchise since Solo: A Star Wars Story in 2018. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 62% of critics' reviews are positive with an average rating of 5.9 out of 10. The consensus reads, bountiful in action but threadbare in narrative thrust with its episodic structure, the Star Wars is more of a skirmish that coasts on the charm of its central dynamic duo.
Yeah, once again, did we need this film? You love the characters, but do we need this film? No, people want different new shit. Even the same thing with Maul. I've been saying this for a decade. Once the fucking the sequel series shit the bed, like we want new Star Wars. This literally, they have material for this galaxy, in essence, to be like 10,000 years of some points of history, and we're focusing on, like I said, at most a 60-year period.
Well, we got new co-presidents. Hopefully that'll change.
Hopefully.
So, let's see. Critics were divided by the film, calling it fun, yet weak and predictable. Pascal's performance, Grogu, and the score were highlighted, while the action sequences and visuals were criticized. Germain Lucier of Gizmodo said the film doesn't tell a vital story that pushes the characters or series into new territory. Clarice Laffrey of The Independent said, within just 5 minutes of Pedro Pascal and a completely dispirited voice performance from Jeremy Allen White as Jabba the Hutt's son, this is the dullest and most inconsequential Star Wars ever made. Writing for Consequence, Liz Shannon Miller gave it a B, stated that there has been some exciting new stories told in the universe since the rise of Skywalker, but watching the latest installment of Lone Wolf and Cub in Space just confirms the degree to which Star Wars feels like it's spinning its wheels, which is a very good point. Last review was Jeremy Harris of 411 Mania gives the movie a 7.5 out of 10 and said, The Mandalorian and Grogu basically presents Mandalorian Season 4 as a stitched-together movie with a theatrical production values. Despite that, Jon Favreau still claps a fun, engaging, immersive, imaginative, and well-made adventure.
I mean, I feel like a lot of these are kind of similar on par. It's not that it wasn't enjoyable. It's just that we want more. Like, you should have done this as a show, another season. This, I don't know if it's because of, some of the logistics with all these moving parts behind the scenes, if Pedro Pascal's too busy, if they're trying to get back into the theater because that's always going to be a thing. You need to do it with more, or do it like I know some of these shows have done, do a season and make the movie at the end the tie-in or something like that. I don't love that. I'd rather just do it as a show, but yeah, you would have been better off stretching this into 3 or 4 episodes of the show and then having, 4 more and make it a bigger production where you actually add real character depth, development, story, plot, fill into The Mandalorian. I don't know what we need more from this character going forward. Doesn't mean you couldn't do stuff. Like I said, I love bounty hunting and stuff like that, but between where this is at, the next, essentially years is going to be leading into episode 7, which 7 through 9 are travesties on, and not even one black eye, 2 black eyes and death on the Star Wars whole timeline. I hate that it was done, and I could rant and go in a different area. But the point is, people are getting old of the old, right? Like this isn't even new. This is old. And I just think they need to go in a different direction and add more elements. You can pepper these old stories in. I think that would be fine. But if that's all you're doing is staying with these same characters, Djarin was not mentioned at any point in time. ever before he was introduced. And I think part of the reason people fell in love with him, other than also, baby Grogu, was because these are new characters, but their story gets old when it's in the whole universe of the same time period. We know what's going to happen in 10 years. It's going to be episode 7. That's not a big enough gap. Give me 200 years before this. There's so much that could happen, both in the political climate and the worlds and the world of the Sith and the Jedi. That is what we want. If they don't understand that these ratings are going to be what they are, and probably just even start getting lower, because it's like we're not seeing anything new. And that's the point. We're not seeing anything new. This is rehashed material over and over, and you just added a new story into the same person's timeline. But yeah, we expect them to have battles constantly when you're bounty hunting. We expect you to have battles the same way when you go to a different planet with an ex-Imperial that you're just going to capture and do the same shit over and over. This is not new. I want something more. That's been my biggest critique about Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars for the last 15 fucking years, when they, 16 years when they took over. Just give me some more. Mic drop, I guess.
So, emotional connection and rewatchability, Kevin. You want to rate this?
Yeah, let's go ahead and rate this bad boy. I would still go positive, personally.
I'm sticking with mid in this one.
It's not a huge thumbs up, roaring, support. But once again, if you were watching this in a collective series with the thing, this would add intrigue and value. You're just not getting much more out of the story, that's all. So I would say relatively positive, but, not much.
It's a fun adventure. They have a couple new characters, but, I need to watch it again.
Yeah, so that's about it.
So yeah, I guess our overall rating, Kevin kind of dropped it already.
Sorry, this is not planned in that manner exactly.
What's actually on the future timeline actually for Star Wars? Have you looked into that at all, Kevin?
I thought there was supposed to be. I think the Squadrons movie I thought was supposed to come out, but I thought that got pushed back potentially. I know there is who's the director of Episode 8 who is supposed to have a series.
Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson series. He's still technically signed on.
Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling. Okay.
Yeah, so once again, if that's in the same time period, I could almost tell you the story right now. He's going to probably get into some battles. Something bad's going to happen. He's going to be distraught or caught or something like that. And then he's going to get some support, probably make some new friends, go fight the bad guy and be over. That's a lot of these stories. I get it. And there's the elements to that. But it just doesn't feel like we're going to totally learn something so extravagantly different in a time period where there's a lot of already history written. I don't want the same era. I want more. That's just. I just don't think it's enough.
Speaking of more, here's what's kind of going to close this out for upcoming TV series. So I talked about Maul Shadow Lord. You have Andor Season 2, which, again, it took me a while. I still didn't have
That's spring 2025. Yeah, that already happened.
Yeah. And then you have Star Wars Vision Presents A Nice Jedi, the full anime series. I don't know if that came out yet. And Ahsoka Season 2. I'm interested in that, seeing how that one goes, just so I can see some more Darth Bane or see what happens next with that. But wait, didn't he get killed? I don't remember.
Well, they all die because that's kind of old stuff. But.
So I guess we'll see what happens with the new timeline then.
We'll see. Once again, I'm probably going to be mad about it because there's no real intrigue. But I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to watch this Darth Maul series. And Darth Maul's one of my favorite characters. He's obviously awesome, but it's like it's being watered down for me in a sense.
So what would we do an overall rating for this movie then, Kev?
Yeah, we already did.
That was our overall rating?
Oh, I mean, that's basically
okay. I'll go a little bit up. A little above past, so not much. So I don't know what angle this is.
We'll go like 30 degrees. 30 degrees positive.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed our podcast, please support us on social media, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and subscribing to us on YouTube.
Yeah. On Tuesdays is just the audio. It's which is on the Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thursday is the YouTube. So, yeah, we appreciate any support, comments. Like, we're going to look into some of the stuff that's been recommended to us. Mostly this guy's going to catch up. But other than that, we'll talk to you guys later.
So should we close it out with what the Mandalorian says, Kev?
This is the way.
This is the way.
Bye.